Hi guys, I'm Ryan Houston and welcome to my fly tying channel. Your video is about to start shortly. Please take this opportunity to hit the like button down below, leave some comments, tell your friends. Interaction, likes, subscriptions help my channel to grow and help me to keep producing content for yourselves. If you're new to my channel, check out the other videos that I've got. There are over 500 videos at this stage, so there should be something there for everybody. Again, video is about to start. Hit that like button down below. Hi guys, so what we're going to do is tie a sort of pink themed pike fly here. So I have a Sakuma Manta 545 in the vise here, and I'm using my usual gel spun, and I'm just super gluing the shank and wrapping into it just to get me a good solid base to start to tie my fly on. So I'm going to use this sort of wide pink tinsel to get me the core length of my tail. So I'm going to bend that back. Now this happens to be quite long, so I'm just trimming that off, and then might as well use these other couple of bits that we've trimmed off as well. So we'll just tie them on and fold them back on themselves. That gives me the core length of the fly. So we're going to use some pink bucktail here as the support. So take a bunch of that, tie it in pointing rearwards and tighten into it. If you want, you can wrap into these rear bits as well. I'm going to leave them there. Some people will trim them off. I'm just going to glue my thread for a couple of inches and wrap into those tie-ins. Then, using a big straw, pop all back. Once it's back, I can hold it in position. I'm just going to squeeze the bases of it there, take my tie-in thread through and create a little bit of a dam at the front. Glue my thread again, and wrap into that dam. Just allows me to get the dam that little bit higher and keep the materials back there. So next we're going to continue with the building of the tinseled portion. So I'm going to use, this is pink holographic tinsel, and I'm going to take that back till it's roughly the length of the fly, and I'm going to tie that in. I'm tying, you notice I'm tying this on top. That just gives me the length, and then I'm going to take this, which is a bunch of stuff that I've made, which I made for a fly called the unicorn. So in here we have, let's see, we've got purples, lilacs, pinks, pearls, a couple of multicolored strands in there as well. So I'm going to take a bunch of that, and I'm just going to misalign the tips by pulling them a little bit, so some stay long, some stay short, and we're going to tie that on to be not quite the length of the previous bunch. And this time I'm allowing this to splay the whole way around the shank, so that then once I release it, you can see it splays around, but it is supported by the bucktail. So we want to fold that back, so we'll just take the straw, push it over, pull all back. I'm just going to tie over that where it's folded. It should be handy enough because it's the tinsel, there's not much bulk to it. Super glue an inch or two of my thread and secure those wraps. So we've folded back the tinsels, and the bucktail is the bucktail skirt is given that volume to the center of the fly, and we have this pink baitfish profile. So the old fly was just fibre. Whenever I tied it, I called it pink buster. So I'm going to use the same sort of fibre. This is actually maybe a little bit more glowy. Take a bunch of that, about 5 inches or so long, and I'm just going to misalign the bunch so that I don't get a square edge. So I've now lengthened that, whereas it was maybe 14 or 15 centimeters, it's probably now 18, I would say. And I'm going to tie this roughly across its middle. A few wraps and tighten into it. Let the super glue dig into both front and back butt ends, I suppose you'd call them, and then flip this back with our straw. And it depends what sort of profile you're after here, but if you want a high profile then you pinch it, and if you want it to be a totally round sort of fish then you just have left it as it was. I'll pull my thread through. I'm going to super glue the thread. And again create a sort of a dam at the front of this here. Okay. So next what we're going to do is to do a pink craft fur head on this fly. So I'll take this high quality pink craft fur, which is probably 80 mil, I think, certainly 70 or 80 mil long. Cut off a bunch, take out the short rubbish. Tie that in on top, and then I'm going to add more bunches to it until I completely envelop the shank. Just rotate your fly as you go, tie it in so as that bunch joins the previous one. Turned it over, had a look, there's still room for another little bunch over there. Same thing. Remove the short, offer up the bunch, hold it in place, a loose lap, and tighten it up. And then I'm tightening down into that. Half hitch. And so now I'm going to let my super glue run around this tie-in, and before it gets a chance to set, I'm just going to fold it all back. Now, in this instance, I'm only just letting the head in and I'm pinching it. The straw protects my fingers against the super glue, and it allows me to control the shape of the head. So on this one, because we're quite bulky here, I'm looking kind of quite a high head. So when I'm happy with position, I'll just hold these fibres in place and add a little bit of super glue to that. If you use cheap watery super glues, you can actually near enough see them heating up and burning the head into position. Same here. I want it a little bit flatter on the bottom so that we don't obstruct the gape as much. So I'll hold it further down and then allow the glue to set in place. And that is our fly tied, so we just need to put eyes on this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow the super glue to set a little bit before I use the epoxy to fix the eyes on. So now that our head has dried a little bit, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fix the eyes and I'm going to put stripes on. So I'm going to use a pro marker here. I'm just going to hold all back nice and tight, and I'm going to draw a black stripe on it. So holding it tight, I can then match up the lines on the two sides. Then I'm going to slide my fingers back a bit. Again, flip the fly over, let it slide further back again, and put on another stripe. So the original fly of this is called a Pink Buster. I suppose this is a new version of that. So it's time to add the eyes. So I'm going to use my 2-part 5-minute epoxy. Just blowing any fluff out of the way so as it doesn't get involved with the epoxy. And I'm going to use a cocktail stick to mix it with. So I'm going to mix the 2 parts together on this Post-it pad, as you've seen me do in other videos. Post-it pads, then you just rip the top leaf off, throw it in the bin, and get a new one for the next fly. So once it's mixed together, we will take a little bit of it on the cocktail stick. I'm going to flip the fly up on its side here. I'm going to let the epoxy sort of settle onto the side there, and I'm going to use the cocktail stick to dig it into and through the materials, and that just gives us a connection to the core of the fly, to the hook shank as such, so that when the eye is stuck to it, it is less likely to move. Same over here. Place our blob and dig it in. So I'm going to use these blue pearl eyes on this one, but use whatever colour suits your own taste, or whatever you have available if you don't have a lot of different types. So we'll stick that on the side like that. I'm just going to push it into it, and a little lip of the glue is sort of folding up over the back edge of the eye, and that will give us a good solid attachment. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for the fly to, or for the eyes to adhere to this here, and for the glue to set, and then we'll do another sort of coat to the head just to neaten that up. Although if you're looking something with as little weight as possible, then I would say stop at this portion here, and just, as I said, keep an eye on the glue as it's setting, and just before it finally sets, give them another squeeze just to hold them in the final position. So once our eyes are set in position, we're going to finish the head off, and for this I am going to use again the 2-part epoxy, and I'm just going to allow a blob of it onto the top of the head, and I want it to sort of sink down. If there's any gaps in behind the eyes, which you might get both top and bottom because of the curvature of the head and the flat shape of the eyes, then we just want that to sort of dig down in behind it and fill that gap. And the same on the bottom, we just hold that out. Let your epoxy run down in there, and then at the front I'm just going to get it to join to from the top bunch, or the top bit of epoxy to the bottom bit of epoxy. Okay, so that is our fly tied. So what I'll do is I'm going to put that onto my rotary fly dryer now, and that'll turn it and keep that epoxy nice and level. So that is the modernized version of the Pink Buster. So hopefully you like what you see. If you did, give us a like, subscribe, tell your friends, check out the other videos I have on the channel, and until next time, tight lines, and thanks for watching.